Welcome to this week's Give Voice to Your Vision. I am so excited for our conversation. We're doing a deep dive today with the amazing Melinda Cohan, and I'm going to introduce her to you. We're talking about her new book, Sustainable Success. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, really, if you are a human being in the world today, there will be benefit to you in this book. And I'm so excited. We're going to dig into some of the goodies inside, and we have Melinda here to share more about it with us. So Melinda, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and excited to talk about this topic with you.
It's so good. I'm going to just read a little, let you guys know a little bit in case you don't know Melinda already. She's the author of Sustainable Success, Thriving in Business and Performing at High Levels Without Burning Out. And in it, she challenges the outdated model of hustle and grind, singing my song, sister, and offers a radically different approach, one that lets entrepreneurs scale and without sacrificing them in the process. So she's been a transformational business coach speaker for over 20 years of experience helping 120,000 plus entrepreneurs grow an aligned, thriving business that protects profits and well-being. Yes, so much yes. Melinda, I'm excited to dive right into some juicy questions and the content of this book. I'd love to have you jump in by kind of explaining. You say that self-care isn't something we earn. It's not a luxury for later, but something that actually helps us build our business. And that feels pretty different from what we often hear or believe. So can you explain what you mean?
Yeah, it's really the kind of the foundation for the whole book, for the way that we show up in business. Often, all our culture has defined success that when somebody has this idea, I'm going to have my own business, or I'm going to go get that job, that success looks like I've got to give it my all and put in the hard work and push through to reach that success. And then there's this when I reach that success, then I'll do something nice for myself. And that when then thinking just kind of keeps that carrot always moving in front of us, and we never get there. And that when then thinking is what spirals us into exhaustion, burnout, overwork, resenting the work that we once loved doing.
Yeah.
But when we can turn that around and create a different definition where we bring our best selves to the work that we do, that's where self-care becomes a strategic advantage. It's not an after the fact thing that we might get to, maybe.
Yeah.
It's the thing that we prioritize so that we're showing up in our best way with our most creative selves, through the lens of opportunities that we wouldn't see otherwise. And so it moves self-care as probably not even in the business conversation to a critical priority that we all pay attention to every day.
Right. This is so good. So how did you get here? How did this come forward for you?
Early in my business, when we were going to start doing what a lot of people in our industry calls launches, right? These big campaigns. We were launching a new signature program, and we wanted to reach a lot of people. I've always loved networking. And so I've always loved relationship building and building my business that way. And so we were bringing on a lot of our colleagues to help us spread the word. And I was watching and observing for about a year, a lot of my other colleagues, the way they were doing these types of campaigns and going about their business. And I tell the story in the book. I was watching them wear a badge of honor of like, I haven't gotten out of my pajamas for 3 days and I haven't eaten. It's been 2 days and I haven't even eaten. And they're like thrilled about this. And they're excited and proud about they're giving it their all. And that's the way they're showing up. And I'm like, that is so unattractive. That is not why I created my business. That I don't want that kind of, it didn't feel right to me. And so I said to myself and my team, I'm like, okay, if we're going to do this, it's going to look different. I can go get a job and it can be easier than that.
Right.
And so I vowed to show up differently because I wanted to have fun. I wanted to, my business partner at the time, she was the queen of fun. She taught me a lot about that. I was the queen of flow, right? I'm all about efficiency and organization, systems and processes. I geek out on spreadsheets, and the better things to be organized behind the scenes, the better things flow. So I'm like, what I saw my colleagues had nothing to do with fun, nothing to do with flow. It was all about pushing and forcing. And I'm like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
And so then I started living and showing up differently. And what's in the book is what I've been living and leading from for all these years. And I never really taught it, but I lived it. And now that's why I'm so excited that it's in the book.
Very, very good. Yeah, I remember coming into the online space and being like, okay, signature program launches. And I definitely resonated with checking the boxes, getting the gold star. And I'm ferocious and determined. And I jumped in, and I was raising 2 special needs kids and having a life. And I stopped launching because of the pressure and I call it now adrenaline-based business growth.
Yeah.
Right? Where I just like elevate all of my cortisol and all of those chemicals you talk in your neuro section that I was reading earlier this morning in your book, right? That we use to feel like we're enough, or to feel like we've proven something to ourselves, and that desire to crack the code. And it's pretty radical to suggest that we could relax and allow and flow and take care of ourselves as a priority. And I would love to hear you say a little bit more about how you see that actually elevating our business results.
Well, it's interesting. I want to say something first, because when, like, our perspective matters, right?
Yeah.
How we hear things matters. Because what you just said when you talked about relaxing and flowing, for the high achievers, high performers out there, they're going to be like, well, that kind of sounds lazy to
boring.
Me.
Yeah.
No, right. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I am a high achiever.
Me too.
And I love the thrill and the art and the game of business and the launches. So it's what we're not talking about letting your foot off the gas. We're not talking about doing less or being lazy, but your perspective matters. And one of the things that I talk about in the book, and I talk about at the very beginning, because you'll hear the rest of the book, or you'll read the rest of the book differently. And I talk about the 4 levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
And when I was putting this together, a lot of people were like, well, that really doesn't have anything to do with your book. And I'm like, well, it is, because it's like the lens. When we're putting on the lens of how we're hearing and seeing everything. And so the 4 levels of consciousness that I describe, and as I didn't create this, I tried to find where this was originally created. And, it's sourced from Michael Beckwith. I learned it from my mentor, Peter Sage, and there's several places where it comes from. But the way that I learned it, level 1 is to me. It's that victim mode, right? Most of us as entrepreneurs is like, oh no, I will not be there. That's why we are entrepreneurs. That's why we are our own business. So,
no.
Level 2 is by me. Achiever mode. Hello, entrepreneur.
Yeah, prove it. I'm gonna make it.
When I first started my business, I was helping out with Dale Carnegie, and I heard there, if it's got to be, it's up to me. And I'm like, yes, that is me. I was recently divorced. I was starting my own business. I'm like, I will be in control. I will make this happen. And
make it happen.
Right? Proving, like you said. But that's level 2. It's necessary. It can be effective. Most people stay here too long. And this is where burnout, exhaustion, resentment happens. And people know, they're like, well, that's not fun, but I don't want to drop back into victim mode. So I don't know what else to do. So let me just keep pushing harder, or let me get more productive, or let me hire a team so I can squeeze more time out of every second, or whatever. But there's the 3rd level, which is through me. Yeah. Through me is that flow state. Yeah. Right. That's where we become a conduit, and a channel for that flow state. The 4th one is as me, and that's where we become one with what's greater than us. In the book, I really focus on level 2 and 3. How do you soften the buying level,
Exactly.
that you start to experience the thriving, not proving, not defending, not pushing, not forcing. And how do you get into that flow state of three? Right. And so when we're talking about this self-care, it's about positioning our, not just our physical being, but our intellectual self, our emotional self, our spiritual self, our social self. It's all aspects of us to bring our best to operate in that flow state.
Yep.
And then the beautiful thing that happens, there's still going to be a lot of tasks. There's still going to be a lot of activity that you're doing.
Sometimes more.
Sometimes more.
If we open the valve and let it flow, like we can.
Sometimes more. Yeah. But when we are looking at it through the lens and approaching it through the lens of that through me flow state, it's a very different experience. The internal work of business begins to shift. So the external work becomes effortless or easier or more flowing.
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. It applies to so many different elements too of business. And really what I discovered is, and I still slip into like, I'll still get into my tasks, right? I'll still get into like my ambition. And I had to embrace the fact that I even had and hold ambition and not make that wrong or bad, but I did have to have the ambition doesn't need to prove anything, right? So I'm letting go of that proving. But I realized that like when I'm in that, like I'm going to make it happen mode, I'm essentially kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
I'm creating all of this other stuff that I have to work through and elevating all of my systems rather than having, when I say relax, like how can I let the universe support me? How can I let those good ideas come in? If I'm so busy figuring out how to try and crack the code and get her done, then how can I, it's not, I had for me, an awakening on the porch where I'd been like, I'm going to be the best mom and I'm going to be the best business owner and I'm going to run the theater organization and I'm going to have a business and right. And I was fed by it. And yet I just was like, it's not supposed to be this hard. I'm not supposed to be working this hard. And I knew on some level that wasn't even conscious yet that I was kicking the can down the road with that hustle. So I can't wait to dig into all of your book. It's so good. I'm wondering if we could jump into this idea of guilt that you talk about, because I think it's not spoken about. I haven't seen it presented the way I started to get to see. I'm only, like I said, I just started reading this morning, but I would love to hear how you bring that forward in the book and have you talk a little bit about that. How do you think guilt shows up for us? Where is it coming from and how do we shift?
Yeah, I talk about it in the book. Whenever I have conversations about this topic with people, it's the two topics that come up immediately, guilt and boundaries, and they are tightly interwoven. And I think it's important to bring it up because a lot of people that I've been working with over the last 21 years as coaches, as service-based entrepreneurs, we naturally are the creative type. We're naturally nurturers, supporters. And so we
want to help the people.
Yeah, we're here to help. That's what we do. Our gifts and talents are in service to other people.
Yeah.
And so by nature, we are here to look after and help and serve and support others. And if we're not careful, we are put on the back burner.
Yeah.
And when that starts to happen, we start running this, well, if I win, you lose. And I don't want my clients to lose. So you win, I lose. And we get in this win, lose, either or. And that's where the guilt starts emerging. And if we can, instead of seeing a I win, you lose, or vice versa approach, and
win.
Yeah, when I can be my best, when I can resource myself and fuel myself, and I'm giving of the overflow, not sputtering on fumes, I can be the best coach I can be. And therefore, you're going to get better service and better guidance from me, and you're lifted up, and you win. I win, you win.
So
we all do. And so that's where that guilt starts to emerge, is that win-lose type thinking. Look, we're talking about cultural conditionings. We're talking about generations of and I'll say it from mothers passing it to daughters, because I see it so prevalent in women more so than others. but not only.
Yeah.
What we're
Where
taught.
it was most obvious for me,
Yeah.
because it really was not even a question or a consideration or a thought to be in that like elevated state of, you know, having some kids with some extreme challenges, and like the self-care, it was immediately obvious that there was like, I was so focused on them, I couldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it required tools and outside support. And for me to realize, okay, wait, I'm in adrenal fatigue. I
Yeah.
have this stuff going on. I'm going to have to do something to help, you know, to sleep again, like all of these things. So it was like very kind of night and day obvious in that incubator. I think it, in the intensity of like this life is, you know, dependent on me, and all that journey was for me through an intentional journey. But I think it can be a little bit trickier or more subtle when we start to think about the business or the career or how we show up with that. It can kind of sneak in and take over without us realizing. Because on one hand, entering that flow state, being of service, letting like the message or the work flow through you, can be a tool of permission to get out of that, you know, I'm going to make it happen if I can allow it, and I'm here to serve a bigger purpose. But if we can't see it, or we aren't even aware of what's running the show,
Yeah.
it can have a huge impact. So I don't know if you have a story or any particular takeaways around like how it kind of sneaks up on us.
It does, because it's been woven into just how we show up in all parts of our life. And so we bring that storyline into
like
our business. Right. We've normalized it. It's just, well, that's just the way it is. I've seen it in all my generations and my lineage, or it's how the other team members are at work, or it's just the way that we've done everything. And so we don't even
the right way. It's what we're supposed to do.
Right. So I wanted to shine the light on it. I had one of my colleagues that I was talking to, and the way that his guilt showed up was as it related to his team. He had built this up and built a team.
I think I have some of that.
And he was troubled. He's like, I can't take time for myself, because if I take time for myself, then my team is having to do even more and carry the load. And now they're working harder, and I feel guilty for that. And I'm like, I'm out. Interesting. Because you're not doing as much doesn't mean they're doing more. It's about doing things differently and approaching it differently. But there's that guilt. It just sneaks right in there.
It does.
Because again, especially for so many of us, when we start our business, we are in service to those around me, and we want to be of service to them, to our clients, to our students, to our team members, to our family members. And so that connotation puts us second or last, but we have to bring ourselves to the front of the equation.
It's like the oxygen masks in the airplane.
Everybody knows it. Everyone's like, and they're like, I know. And they roll their eyeballs. I know you're going to tell me to put my own oxygen. For good reason. And I know your brain understands that, but that deep wiring that we've normalized, we have to undo that. And a lot of it comes from setting boundaries. For some people, it just comes from setting any boundary. For some, it's about setting.
I'm going to walk away from my desk at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Self-boundary. Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah. That was one of that thing, I'll say that right there. When I was starting my business, my very first coach, who then became my business partner, Kate, when I was asked, I was like, okay, I've never had my own business. I loved being an employee, but now I'm going to do this thing. Some of the best words of wisdom that she shared, she's two things. She's like, get dressed for work and set your office hours. Yeah. And I was like, but I'm not going to the office. She's like, yes, you are. It might just, for me, it was the sofa table in the living room when I first started.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is. I'm going to work. It's that space. It's designated for my work. And she said, get dressed. And I'm like, well, I'm not, I'm just at work. I'm just at the sofa table working. She's like, but if you dress slouchy, you'll feel slouchy and you'll do slouchy work. If you dress like you feel good, then you will do work that feels good. And that energy permeates everything. And just those are like little self-care tips that I was like, okay, I can do that. And I've got a lot of great shoes that I'd love to wear. So I wear my awesome shoes and dressing for work. Nobody else sees me but me. And so
You could do a whole feature on the shoes. You could be, these are the shoes I'm wearing today.
My husband's like, where are you going? My desk. Okay.
You mean the couch?
Yeah. My desk, but I've got on my killer shoes today because they feel good. And so those are some boundaries that we can set, and just little things of self-care that we can do. Another little story I'll tell about this. During the pandemic, my husband.
I was just thinking about the pandemic.
My husband, he's an attorney,
mm-hmm.
in-house counsel for a company, and they've got an office downtown, and he's got a really nice office down there. And so the pandemic hits and they close the office. Everybody's working from home. So we take the end of the dining room table and we set it up to be as close to his workspace at his office. And the very first day we make dinner, and, we got the kitchen and then the dining room. We clean up from dinner. And as I'm finishing up in the kitchen, I see him go to his desk.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just going to send an email. And I'm like, hang on a second.
Hold up now.
If we weren't in the pandemic right now, would you, after dinner right now, would you get in your car? Would you drive to the office? Yeah. And would you send that email? He was like, well, no. And I'm like, then you don't get to send it right now, because that is your office.
Yeah.
Not the dining room. And he was like, oh, right. And that boundary, that act of self-care, that boundary helped to create a parameter so that we can have a thriving life while he still has a thriving.
Which makes him a better lawyer, right?
Exactly. And so the ripple effects go from even the tiniest of things.
Huge, huge. And those are small, doable boundaries that can make a huge impact. And they're maybe different for everyone, right? That thing that's going to help you feel your game. My husband and I, one of the first things we noticed, all of a sudden I had 3 adult male baritones on Zoom calls. My office had been in our dining room. And I was like, no, I can't hear. And so I came up here into, now I get the tower. I'm in our 4th room upstairs, and he's in the dining room, and it evolved. But the first thing we noticed about 2 weeks in, it took us, I was like, you notice that we're like working, like all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock and we're still working, or he still does it a little bit. We'll eat dinner, or before we go eat dinner, he'll go back into the office. It's such a temptation. And that's, I'll say to people, clients that I'm talking with, like, have your daily doables. What can you do in 10, 15 minutes a day to move the needle in your business? And find your rhythm, your flow. I'm a morning person, and I have clients in Europe. So I start my day early, but then I walk away at that, when is quitting time, and having that personal discipline and permission. It's even a transformational practice if it's hard, to make a decision about, I love that you connected that to boundaries. I don't think I would have made that connection. So that's a new, you know what I mean? Like having the boundaries, but it doesn't have to be this big epic overhaul of your business, your life, your launch, your plan, it is those small things that add up. So like if you're a morning person, then maybe that's before you leave your desk, or the first thing you do when you get to desk. If you like, maybe you're a last minute person. So like if it's the last, like I'm not going to leave my desk until I get those daily doables done. These little practices can make a huge difference. And I hadn't thought of them as self-care until we were having this conversation.
Exactly.
So this is the power of the book that you're bringing forward.
Yeah, it's just the awareness. And the other thing that I find is that so many people, I was just talking with a group yesterday, and they're like, well, how do we get started with this? And I have people go through a process, and I take them through that process in the book about creating your baseline self-care plan. And I have them go back and look at the previous 3 days or 5 days of their work week. And I have them list, what are the things that you're already doing that's really self-care, but you've never framed it that way.
Right.
And
brush your teeth. Hopefully.
I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is I have a cup of water that I put on my nightstand when I go to bed, and my feet hit the floor, and I drink that cup of water. That is a huge act of self-care. I'm nourishing my body. I'm hydrating myself. But a lot of people, they just go through these motions and they're like, oh my gosh, well, I take the dog for a walk twice a day. Excellent.
Beautiful. Right.
But before this awareness, they're like, oh God, I got to take the dog for a walk.
Right.
And now,
and when you have the awareness, it's like thrice the benefit, right? When you're bringing that intentionality to it, it's even more powerful and potent. Melinda, I'm going to share the link to get this book for free real quick. I see a couple people are here live. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but I'm going to share it right now. I'm going to come back. We're streaming on 3 platforms. I'm going to come back and make sure you guys can access this. I think you're gifting it on Kindle through
August 2nd.
Through August 2nd.
Yeah.
So I will come back and make sure that we have a little feedback on our line. I'll come back and make sure that this link is in all 3 of the places where we're streaming. You guys can get access to this. I'm looking at it over here on my other monitor. There's so much value. I've read through the first few chapters, and it's practical. There's a place for you to take what you've read, what resonates with you, your ahas, and really think about implementing them and integrating some of this stuff into your life. And so I do encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to have access to this. And, another self-care practice, give yourself 10 minutes a day to read a chapter, take an aha, however it works for you. I think you even give some support at the beginning of the book for let this work for you. You don't have to sit down and read the whole thing front to back. And it can be a powerful, the intention to have sustainable success can be an act of self-care and thriving. And somebody just gave us a heart. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know in the comments who's here. And I want to make sure that we get all the value for folks here while we're here. So I wanted to interrupt our programming to make sure that link was there. What else can we share? There's so many places that we could go. I want to be mindful of your time. I know you have a lot going on as you've released this beautiful creation. If there was, a final thought or something you would really want people to take away from, if they're here, they've stayed with us here for some time, they're getting value, they're going to get the book. What would you want them to know or do in order to get the most benefit and to have the most sustainable success in their lives and business?
I think the thing that comes to mind right now is when I talk with a lot of people, because they have this traditional definition of success, meaning I have to work hard, push hard, keep pushing even harder, put in long hours, it's grueling. That is what it means to have your own business. That's what it means to create success. That is a way that has been typically taught. It is not the only way. And to take a moment to consider a different approach to success. And the biggest takeaway is just because you take a different approach doesn't mean you have to lessen your goals or lower the amount of money that you want to make.
That's right.
Be willing to do. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I have lived this approach, and I have done $750,000 launches in a period of 2 weeks, or a $500,000 campaign, or I built my business to a $2 million. You can have the big goals, you can have the big dreams, you can have the big success, and still have the big life without the exhaustion, without the effort, without the resentment, the burnout, like you said earlier, the adrenal fatigue. So success doesn't have to mean less. You don't have to give up one for the other. This is not an either or. This is a journey into both and.
I love that so much. And you bring forward such a great point as we wrap this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. The cost of the pushing and the adrenaline and the stress and the physical toll, the mental toll, the relationship toll, this price that we pay through the compromises that we make. And this, I'm going to say that you're in the new paradigm of success.
Yeah.
Because is it the jig is up? The gig is up? I can't remember right now. The gig is up. The jig is up. I think it's the jig. I think we're con artists in this analogy, but
Either way,
that's neither here nor there. I mean, the cat's out of the bag, if we will. This old paradigm doesn't work. and it's kind of melting our brains. It's not working anymore. And so I'm so grateful that you brought this forward. And I know that you've created so much in your life and your career so far. And I'm very honored to be a part and see what's flourishing and coming through this gift. But it really is the struggle, the hustle, the grind. And I'm seeing it in the generation of young adults that we have, two of whom are my children, that they're not willing to do that. And I had a lively conversation with my youngest Rowan yesterday, and he's like, "We shouldn't have to." And I'm like, "Hell yes, find your zone, right?" So it's such a timely message, and I'm so excited for everyone in the world to get this book. And thank you for being generous and sharing it for as a gift for these few days. I hope all of you watching, especially if you're still here, somebody on LinkedIn is telling us the jig is up. Thank you. I'm gonna have to go look it up now with my magic AI friends. It's such powerful work, and it's so timely. I would propose that anyone here go ahead and get the book and read it, implement it, take the next step, find the support, the space, make the time, a little bit out of a time, and one paragraph or idea and implemented quickly can change the trajectory of what you're doing and how you're living. So that you talked about perspective at the beginning of this, and one shift in your perspective can change your health, your energy, your prosperity, your relationships in that moment. And this book is full of them. I just got goosebumps. So this book is full of those opportunities. So I'm thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much, Melinda. And you guys, go get the book.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. All right. See you guys next week on Give Voice to Your Vision. If this has been valuable, share it. Share it now so somebody else can go get this book. Feel free to comment below if you have questions for either of us. I can make sure we get those answered. And thanks for being here. But thanks for sharing this with the people that you know who will benefit, and helping us change the paradigm of success with Melinda Cohan. See you guys.